invite some people. Alrighty, what's going on here? Ah, there we go. Alrighty. Special day today. 32 years ago. The Rabbi spoke and said that everything that he has done, he's giving it over to us. 11 months to the day, he had his first stroke. 2 years to the day after, he had his second stroke. So, giving it over to us, that we're going to bring the final redemption. Very powerful. How could that be? The greatest, the great, they can't achieve, and giving it over to us, compared to, relative to the Rabbi, what's our capacity, what's our capability? But redemption has to come in every corner of the world, every individual ultimately. So it can't come from above, it comes from within. So it has to come from me, it has to come from you. We have to want redemption, a new world order, a world that godliness is clear and obvious, and we really, I can't want for you, you can't want for me. Which is an interesting idea. I could I could feel for you. I could understand for you and share that with you. And that I share understanding, then that might give you understanding that you want. Then it gives you understanding. And if I have a certain feeling about something, that could give you a feeling too. But it doesn't work for a desire. Just because I desire at night. Well, I tell you, I like this. Well, okay. I don't. I like a redeemed world, but I'm just enjoying my material, spiritual, cocoon. So this is the date, 28th of Nisan, where we are empowered that we can want and we can change the world for good. Welcome to Tanya today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zuchim Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. And today we share the Tanya like we do every day. I've said this before, and I must say it again. I am humbled by all of you. I'm humbled. I'm grateful. Michael, guten Tag in Germany. Rabbi, welcome in Morocco. Good afternoon. Clem, good evening in Brisbane, Australia, where you go to sleep and have sweet dreams of Tanya, which is amazing. Natine is in Canada, shalom. Tony is joining us in Costa Rica, welcome. Rusty is in Texas. Liba. And if you could tell Davida, please miss her. To welcome, good morning. Who else is joining us here? Denise, once again, is in New Jersey joining us. Boker Tov. Jerry is in Texas. Welcome. Beautiful. Wonderful. Leah, as always, is in Florida. Thank you for joining. Daphne is having a wonderful Wednesday in South Carolina. Eugenia is in Calgary. Boker Tov. Clubhouse, you said, what do you mean it's not shareable? Oh, I don't know what I'm doing here. It is. We'll leave it for the moment. We'll see what later we can do. Rosmira is coming to us. I'm not certain where, but welcome. Stan, good afternoon in London, England. Cherise, welcome aboard. Coming to us from, not certain, but wherever it is. Julia, it's coming to us in Pennsylvania. Sandy is in Michigan. Lacey is in Shane River, Sutra. Okay, beautiful. All right. May you turn the hearts of many people. David is joining us in California. Dam is in Indonesia. Anna, happy day. Jeff, 13th day of the counting of the Omer. Thank you. Yes, for those who haven't yet counted. TJ, Terrence is in Melbourne, Australia. Sarah in New York. Boker Tov, welcome back. And Celeste Chava is in Boulder, Colorado. Shalom. John, North Carolina, welcome aboard. As always, beautiful. Diane is in Arizona. June is also in Australia. Psh, amazing. We got a bunch of clubhousers. Vilma, Jay, Celeste, Michael, Alan, Adam, Yosef, Ruthie. Beautiful. Instagrammers, we have with us Ellen, Akoya in Lima, Peru. Bella is joining us. Forgot where, Bella, remind me. Ellen is in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Yosef, into Televenta. Astro, Alice in Baltimore, Carlos in Chile. Beautiful. Simcha in Florida. Okay. What does faith mean to you? Faith is not the things that we should know. Those things we don't take on faith. What you need to know it. What you need to take on faith, take on faith. What does that mean to take it on faith, though? Furthermore, we speak about God's presence. God is seeing us. Seeing us, how much are we exerting, putting effort? Do we really care? Are we really empathetic? Are we really giving? Are we really seeing the good and the goodness in our lives, the beauty that surrounds us. Those are things that are deep down, not on the surface. And God is seeing us, empowering us by the fact that he sees us. That's the treasure that we have in our lives, that in our soul, that we can think about that, and it will bring us to behave differently because we're being seen by God, not to judge us, not to punish us, but to empower us. This morning, woke up early and thought to myself, I could stay in bed a bit longer. Why not? Then I thought to myself, after about 10 seconds of that, God is seeing me and empowering me. And what do I need to do now? I don't need to stay in bed. My body wanted to stay in bed, but it's not that it needed it, my body, because it was as if I was going to go to sleep, and it was time to wake up. And actually, probably even had a restful sleep. But hey, my body was talking, and I sensed the presence of God, and that empowered me to get out of bed. And not just to get out of bed, but to get out of bed with life, with a gusto. So this is what's happening when the king stands before you and you sense that presence. But what happens when the king is there before you and sees you? Doesn't that mean you're also seeing the king? You're seeing God? But what does that mean exactly, that you're seeing God? And shouldn't that, because not only that you picture that God is seeing you, but you're seeing him, shouldn't that therefore bring also a greater sense of fear? And let's understand that metaphorically. When you are in the presence of a physical king, what do you have to fear from of the king? Of the flesh of the king? No. The soul that's in the body of the king, that animates the king. Because when the king is asleep, not that you've ever been in the presence of a king being asleep, or I haven't at least, you really don't have fear for the king when they're asleep. But you do have fear when the king is awake. Right? You have a sense of awe. It's the king. Now, I'm not talking here, of course, there's a sense of the king can be punishing. And maybe that's the fear that we have by and large. But, I don't think in today's day and age, King Charles is going to be inaugurated and there'll be more of a sense of awe. Or maybe not. But again, we're using this by way of metaphor. So let's understand and appreciate the metaphor, because from there we'll understand to what we want to improve our lives with, because that's what a metaphor is going to help with. So we fear a physical king because of the soul that animates their body, even though that soul of the king we don't see. We only see the physicality of the person. But we're certain that there is a spirit, there is a soul that's animating that king, and therefore we have a sense of awe before the king. So likewise, let's take that analogy, beautiful analogy. Likewise, when we see a world around us, what are we seeing? What are we gazing when we see the heavens before us, the earth before us? You see the Rocky Mountains, you see, whatever awesome thing of the world. So really, it's not just a physical thing that you're perceiving. What are you perceiving? The Spirit of God that's behind it, that's clothed in it, that's animating it. The Ein Sof, God himself, is animating it. Even if you never saw the king, but you come into the king's courtyard and others are prostrating themselves before the king. You never saw the king, but everybody else is bowing. What are you going to do? You're going to bow? You're taken by the aura, even though you never saw the king. But oh, you're in the presence of some greatness. So, in the note, the Alter says, everything goes to the west, sunrise, and everything moves to the west. Everything is, because in the west is the Shekhinah, the divine presence. It's all bowing down to the presence of God. All of creation in that movement. We don't see that. Right? Get to that in a moment. As opposed to when you're seeing the king, you definitely know that in the physical body of the king, there's a soul that's animating it. You're certain of that. But when you look at the heavens above, it's not the same certainty. There's a sense of, it's just a physical thing. That is the moon, the sun, the stars, the planets, the mountains, the valleys, whatever it is. But beyond the shadow of a doubt, we know when the king that is being animated by a soul, but we're not so clearly perceive that the body of the world, the celestial bodies and the earth is being animated by the soul, by God. Now, the truth is, it's just that there's many garments that are covering over on creation, but deep down in everything is the spark of God that's animating it and giving it life, giving it existence. And ultimately, what we need to do is to accustom ourselves that when we're seeing the physical world, really what we're gazing upon is only the garments of the king. But behind all of that is the king, is God, who's animating it. And this is the essential thing, is to train and to habituate the mind and our thoughts to continuously to see everything in the physical world, that it constitutes merely the outer garments of the king, and that there's an inwardness of everything, and that's the vitality of godliness. And when we do that, then we will be able to perceive in everything the presence of God that animates it, and therefore there'll be a sense of awe. We'll be able to have a sense of awe, which is extremely powerful. And this, says the Alter Rebbe, is what emunah is. Emunah we translate as faith, but it comes from the word oymen, a craftsman. We have a craft that we're very good at. Oh, I shouldn't say that. A craft means a talent. A talent means it's something that is a part of us. Like someone who was a great musician, they had something that was a part of the makeup of their soul from music. Another person has part of their soul makeup that they are talented with their hands, right? Being artistic. Another one can have talent with food, making food. Another one can have talent in building. But if you have a talent and you don't hone the talent, you don't train the talent, then you're never going to become, a great chef. You're never going to be a great violinist, and never a great, doctor or a great rabbi, right? So you have to train yourself. So what is the talent the divine soul has? Is for God. But we have to train that talent. How do we train it? When you see something, you just see that it is an expression of God. It's not just what you see on the outside, a garment. If you see the garments of the king, you know that the king's inside of it. That's easy. When you see the garments of creation, you just see something beautiful. Look deeper behind it, that's really the king inside there, the vitality of God Almighty that is giving the vitality to everything. And that will allow us then to have a sense of fear, better / respect, or even more so, awe for us perceiving God. So previously we spoke about God sees us. At the same time, if God sees us, that means we see him. Which is phenomenal. Together with that, we can't always be so attuned, and we've got to train ourselves. It's work. It's work to train ourselves. At the same time, we need to be able to accept the yoke of heaven, as it says, you should appoint a king over you. Well, God's your king. Even though we like to be the king, we like to, call the shots and have life on our terms. But, that's our service, is to recognize that that's not the case. And therefore do whatever it takes to, to stay in line and not to, forgo what God needs from us and do. Right? Because we may not always be able to meditate and to think about that God is present. He sees me. I see him. Right? He sees me and forgoes all of the act of being creator and is just there to empower me with his presence. Right? So we need both things. To just have acceptance of what God needs from me, whether I, think about, meditate, ponder of God's presence, seeing me, I'm seeing him. And then at the same time, we need to do this. We need both aspects, because both are the concept of the lower level of fear. So again, fear meaning a sense of perceiving the empowerment that God gives me, then when I'm lying in bed, get out of bed. When I'm doing something that, or thinking of something that's not healthy, God sees that, I push that away. I want to express something in my speech that is not appropriate. God's seeing that, empowering me to not speak that. Not seeing in order to punish, but seeing to empower. At the same time, that's good to kind of like stop us from negativity. But we got to develop and train that we perceive God in everything. Like Chassidim, everything is in the physical world is but a parable. It's nothing but a parable of godliness. Because in fact, it is God that's animating the physical world. So train ourselves to whatever we're perceiving of the physical world, it's really but a parable for godliness. So to see and how it's part of the godly plan, or just you're taking a message. In that sense, the physical world is, God is through the physical world messaging us. Another way to take this idea. Messaging us. Which is amazing. To be able to see the world that way. It just brings a unification, a oneness in our world. Because God's animating it, so it's constantly a message that He's sending me. Now, what that message is, okay, it's not necessarily always, but it's a message of godliness. That's the point. Of godliness, because it's God animating it. So if we look for that, we'll experience things very differently in the world. Very, very differently. All right, any questions? 2 question marks before you ask a question, which makes it easier. Okay. John, do we also perceive the garments of the king with other senses, hearing, smell, touch, taste? Yeah, but yeah, of course. Because, for sure, because when you're eating food, right, so the taste that you're having at that moment is a physical taste. But, hey, God's animating that food in that moment. So there is the spirit of that, the metaphor of it. So if you could appreciate the metaphor of it, it just means that you're sensing that there's something divine in what you're doing, as opposed to just a physical act. Yeah, so yeah, thank you, John. That's really good. But where are you sensing this is in your mind's eye, right? It's in your mind's eye that you're sensing. The physical eye um, sees a physical body, a physical book rather, right? It's just a physical book. The mind's eye, oh, this is Tanya. Oh, this is holy. This is empowering. This is godly. That's all in the mind's eye. I don't see godly, I don't see holy in the physical eye. But mind's eye, that's what it. So likewise, okay, that's easy with this book of Tanya. That's when I look at it, that's what it brings out in me. But the physical cup for water, that's there just for my taste or for my quenching my thirst. That's the garment of it. When I recognize, no, there's something, a divine connection over here. Not only in the fact that you make a blessing over the water and therefore recognize God, and that's making the blessing gives me that opportunity. But in the experience itself, or what the water is, or what the mug is nothing but a garment that's expressing the divine. So when you tune into that, now, you're going to make yourself crazy in everything trying to figure out. So don't do that. Don't make yourself crazy in everything trying. Oh, what's the divine over here? Yeah. The fact that we know that it is, that's something. And then we'll see the message will come, the metaphor of what it's meant to be. Sometimes we'll get it and sometimes we won't get it, but that's okay. Right? That's okay. Sometimes we'll get it, sometimes we won't get it. But knowing that it is, that itself is such, oh, what a life to live, to be able to appreciate that. Then, you're going to care. You're going to be empathetic. Right? I've told the story before, but worthwhile saying again, this beautiful story. When the previous Rebbe was 11 years old, in 1891, he was with his father, the Rebbe Rashab, Shalom Dov Ber, and there was a summer day, and they were taking a stroll, and he was speaking to him about God's presence in the world, in the physical world. And he was, in a meditative state, 11-year-old boy, and I don't know if it was mindless or not, that I don't know, but that's irrelevant. He took a leaf from the tree and just crumbled it in his hand. And his father was aghast at him. How could you do that? We're talking about God's presence in everything. And that leaf is not a leaf. It is the spark of God that animates it. I'm giving the explanation now. I don't think he said it in this manner at the time. But then saying that everything is got the spark of God in it. And just to crumble it because it's there, right? 11-year-old. And that's special. 11-year-old, obviously, that you could speak in such a manner to that 11-year-old, right? But amazing. So this is such a blessing that we can be able to live life like that. Well, we can, but don't make yourself crazy about it. I'm worried about that if you do. Are we just a garment for holiness? Well, we are holiness. We're not just a garment. The body is. Yes, the divine soul is holiness. Okay. I've got Alan in one moment. I would love to hear from you. Let me just get to some questions before I lose them. Does the animal soul have a different craftsman than the divine soul as they were independent? Yes. The animal soul, its craft is a wily one, to get you away from all of this, to perceive the surface, perceive the physical world as a physical world that is there for your enjoyment. It's just there for your comfort. It's just there for you to, enjoy life. That's what it wants to tell you. Right? when we recognize that that's what it's doing, so then I'm not going to allow it to rule over me. Now, that'll happen two ways. One will be, as we mentioned, Kabbalah soul, the yoke of heaven. Just do what God needs you, whether you understand, perceive, or not. One thing that God doesn't want is that we should just seek pleasure and comfort for its own sake. That's what the animal soul wants, for its own sake. What do you want comfort? What the body wants comfort. Why? For comfort's sake. Because it's comfortable with that. It feels good. It's all self-directed, right? It could even be for the soul, by the way. It could even be for the soul. Seeking that. Seeking comfort. It's all self-directed rather than what you're needed for, what God wants of you. Alan, please share with us. That's an amazing thing to live with. Can you imagine every day the Alter is giving us a new nugget, golden nugget, to live our lives with? It's uncanny that every day there should be something new to add in our lives. Alan, please share with us.
Good morning, Rabbi. Yeah, I really appreciated what you spoke about in terms of the word faith, emunah, and oman, a craftsman being related to one another. You know, in essence, the master craftsman, the tool of the master craftsman may be faith itself. You know, and I'm, when I'm thinking about this, I'm reminded of the beginning of Bereshit Rabbah, which the Midrash on Genesis, it starts with a quote from Mishlei, from the book Proverbs, and it says, "Ehyeh etzlo amon," I was with him as a master craftsman.
Right.
And it's what's also kind of interesting, and when I reflect on it, is Ehyeh, which is a name of God that's even, one could argue, even higher than the Havaya, higher than the Tetragrammaton, which is up in the Tzilas,
right,
up in the higher worlds. And so Etzlo, near him, and in those upper worlds, nearness means resembling. Yeah, so resembling this higher sense of God is a craftsman, it's just, and the craftsman itself, its tool is emunah, itself is faith. So all these things kind of resonate with me this morning. So thank you for bringing all this to my mind. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you for sharing as always. Oh, Lori, good to see that you're with us. But I'm pained by what you share. Lori shares with us, I took a son of a friend into my home, and he took his life there. What is the message from God? Lori, wait. Can we talk about this on Thursday in TRC? That would be amazing if we could do that. If you're open to that, please let me know. I'm not going to deal with it at this moment. Yes, okay, amazing. All right, TRC is this Thursday at 4:30. For those who haven't not signed up yet, please go to TanyaRabbi.com. You can try it out, see how it. Ooh, okay. All right. Wow, when it comes in droves. When it rains, it pours. This week, actually, I'm going to a Shiva house today of a suicide. Oh la la. Okay, too much of that. And yeah, in our community here, 3 this week. We had a meeting yesterday, Chabad Lifeline, just to discuss and talk about this because it is too rampant. Young people. Denise, what was the animal soul created so that we will exercise our freedom to choose our godly soul by free will? Well, perfectly said. Yes, Denise, exactly. That's what we have, the animal soul, so we could exercise freedom of choice. Otherwise, we wouldn't have it, right? Ultimately, it's even more than that. That's the basic idea, but it's ultimately to transform the animal soul as best as we, little by little. Beautiful, yes. Rachel, the Rebbe says that Mashiach will be able to smell all tribes and to bring us home with our families to learn about our gifts. Yeah, yes, so it says about Mashiach, the Messianic Redeemer, that he'll make judgment by smell. By smell. Doesn't have to perceive even. Just by smell we'll know. And we have it, the famous story of Reb Mendel Haradoker, who, remember, was a mentor of the Alter Rebbe, who moved to Israel in 1777. And the Alter Rebbe collected funds because they were destitute there. And one day there was, in Jerusalem, there was trumpets and like Mashiach had come. So he went to the window and sniffed. He says, no, not yet. So they asked, why did he have to smell at the window? Why didn't he smell in his room? Because in his room, the smell was Mashiach, Dick. But the outside world was not yet redeemed. He was a holy, righteous person. He was redeemed, but not the world. So he had to go to the window to smell what's doing in the world. He smelled. That's great, holy people. Their smell is, for them, a manner to judge. As he judged, the world wasn't ready yet. And redemption had not yet come. Yeah. All right, amazing, everybody, what you have to share and just being here. Kol hakavod to everybody. A reminder, Rambam, we're starting today, the laws, actually, soon of Mashiach in a couple of days, but we're starting the laws of kings and coming to the end of this cycle of learning. And again, a reminder, tomorrow will be TRC, whoever wants to join. Go to TanyaRabbi.com. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zich in Kadesh, Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you, Tanya. Have an amazing, great day. God bless you all.